My name's Laurence.
Hello.
And what is your name, madam?
Angela.
Angela
Ingalls.
Ingalls.
Yes.
Is it I-N-G-L-E-S or E-N-G?
I-S.
So it's not the Communist Manifesto, it's Marx and Engels, it's Scottish. Oh, right.
Yeah.
Ingalls, is it? I suppose Inglenook could be a Scottish name, word.
Is that not a fireplace
Yeah,
or something?
it is.
Oh, right, I'm with you.
Nook is
Yeah.
quite Scottish, isn't it?
Look, yeah.
So you're a daughter of a... You're not a miner.
No, I'm not a miner. I'm the daughter of a miner.
Daughter of a miner.
Mm-hmm.
And is that from these parts or...
Rosington.
Rosington. Oh,
Yeah.
great. Brilliant. We haven't had a Rosington.
Ah, right. Oh, it's quite the big, one of the biggest pits,
Yeah,
actually.
yeah. So does that mean you were born and brought up in Rosington?
Yeah, my dad went straight into the mine from school. Then the war happened, so he, went away to be a soldier, fighting the war. Came back and went back into the mines. So that was his career besides the,
And did he come from a line of miners?
Yeah, from South Shields.
All right.
They came from South Shields, yeah. And my mum's family was from Shirebrook, and her father was a manager
Of a mine?
of Rosington Pit.
Oh, really? So they're both?
Like supervisor manager, yeah. Oh, yeah, very much. Well, the whole village was mining. It was all, and as it got bigger, then more people were brought in from everywhere else to look after it. Really.
How big was the? I mean, how big was the pit when it was at its prime?
I really don't know, because I don't like going down anywhere, so I didn't actually do the tour. When they ask you, you can take the school trip down to have a look. So, but it was the whole village, and they had mining pit houses, and then they had the council houses they had to build as well. So the village was expanding, quite a lot. And in the 60s, then they built the Wimpy estate for Scottish miners to come down and work in the pits. So a fair size.
Mm.
Yeah.
And so you obviously schooled there. So you're in a mining kind of school, really.
Yeah, Rosington. Rosington Secondary School. Torndale Infant School was the first one, and I lived directly opposite that. So my mum could stand at the gate and wave me over the road.
Oh, right. And did you have a big family, or was it?
2 brothers, one older, 4 years older, and he actually worked at the coal house.
What's the coal house?
It was the building where all the computers and data for the mining industry in in the area, and all the data went back to the coal house, they called it, which actually was just knocked down not long since, about 2 years ago, isn't it? So, and then I have a younger brother. I was 10 when he was born, and he also went into mining eventually. So.
And was that reluctantly or with eagerness?
Well, he worked away for a while, and then he decided to come back. He joined up in the Navy. I don't think he liked it that much, so he came back, and all the jobs that were around here were mining, so he automatically went straight back into the mines to earn a living and get on with it. Yeah.
So was your dad a happy miner?
He was strong. The thing was, with working 3 shifts, you only ever got to know my dad at maybe Christmas Day.
Really? 3 shifts?
Well, it was like mornings, afternoon and nights, they used to say. So when he wasn't at work, he'd be asleep. So the 6 o'clock shift till about 2 o'clock, then 2 till 6, and then night time they'd go on night 12 till 6. It was, I'm not too sure, because to be quite honest, my mum dealt with it. She was the Trojan of the family. She would be cooking all the meals and making sure that my dad was fed his 3-course meal, because it was on the face, so it was heavy work. And so they needed lots of food.
Yeah. So hang on, when you say 3 shifts, you mean 3 shifts in a day?
They call it, like one week mornings, 1 week, sorry.
I see.
But when, like in the morning one, in the afternoon, and I get him from school, he would be in bed. Yeah. And then he liked the British Legion, which was the club in Rosington that, he loved to go there. So at the evenings he'd go out for a couple of drinks. So, you know, it was then when we went on holiday, we'd have good times there, and he was lots of fun then. But yeah, he was a very strong, burly man of the house, and my mum just made sure that everything else got done.
Yeah.
He went to work and she ran the whole house, yeah.
And what sort of house was it?
Good little council house.
Was it a
Well, not that little really.
Pit house or a...
No, the pit houses were more down by the pit, and then the council realised there were so many people going to be working there, so then loads of council houses were built. So my mum was living with mum and dad with my grandma. I mean my grandma, her mum, at first, and she was about 4, I think, and then they had to give them a house because they were all living in one house, and the council house had just been finished. So in fact, and then I was coming along, so they got a 3-bedroom house. So it was, yeah, fairly good house.
So you were the oldest?
I know my brother is. He's 4 years older. I'm the middle, and then Alan came along, and he was lovely. Great addition to the family.
Yeah.
Bit of a shock for my mum, but it's good for us.
So your dad, your grandfather was up in Sheffield, Sunderland.
South Shield, yeah.
So that means your dad was brought up there.
Yeah.
So he had a South Shields accent.
Yeah, but I used to call him a Geordie. Everyone called him a Geordie because they couldn't tell. None of us could tell the difference really. But my grandma was very broad, and granddad. But with his mining, all I remember of him really is being ill from chest, from the chest illness that most miners do get.
So how many times have you met him? I mean, you imagine he stayed up in South Shields and you were down in Doncaster.
No, because they'd all moved down. No, we were born here.
Right. But your
my
grandfather moved
mum,
down to here as well?
Yeah, and then my dad, actually, yeah, he must have just been born because then he was schooled later on in Rosington and then went to the pit, so...
Oh,
I'm not actually quite sure on days, but the whole family moved down here for them to get work.
Right.
And, yeah, I'm not that great. Because they never, really, I can't say they were great talkers. Me and my mum were great chatters, but men didn't really talk that much. So... Yeah, it was a great social thing. I mean, the funny thing in our family was my mum was a church person and my dad was a miner that liked to drink. So one of the funniest things is on a Sunday morning, we'd all be walking down the street and the social club was down there, British Legion, and the Methodist chapel was the other way. So we'd all walk down and my dad would carry on there and then we would go to chapel. So, you know, totally different lives in a way. We were very, we did the anniversaries, I was the Methodist Queen, and my dad would pop in occasionally, but he was very much, he earned the money, he kept us all going, but he very much was a man of work and his friends, and I mean, yeah, that was his life really.
And did he keep his health?
Right, till the end really, and it got him there, and emphysema.
Right.
He got his chest, yeah. But he was 67 when he died.
And did he retire? What time did he retire?
He had to finish work for about six years before that.
Did he get to the strikes and stuff, or was it?
My young brother, the one that was 10, he was working at Rosington Pit then when the strikes were on. That was horrendous. I'd actually moved to London by then. I was living in London with my husband and my two children. And it was quite horrendous really because no one was working, but luckily for Alan, my mum and dad kept Alan, to keep him safe really, so he wouldn't get too involved. Or the police were very much, the ones that came up from London were really harsh on the miners, They did a lot of damage to young lads and the miners really.
Damage in the physical sense, or damage in mental,
obviously, Thatcher really sent them up and they just did the damage. They were just doing as they were told, I suppose, but, very military, and that was it. They said, the miners were in the wrong, so They just did the damage that they had to do to stop them, getting into the pits or stop people going in. There was a lot of people that still actually went into the mine that carried on. A lot of trauma there because some people needed money more so, and a lot of marriages split up because, they couldn't. It was a real tragic time, and she did it so badly, Thatcher. She didn't consider the whole community that was being torn apart at all.
So were you aware of relationships marriages that broke up?
Well, it was not my age group. I was 10 years older than my brother, and he was the one, and it was his friends and that, and families, offences that were affected. That's lovely, thank you. It affected them badly because there was no money coming in. They get strike pay. Of course, once they had strike pay and they were out on the front line, then there would be conflicts and men would be hurt, families would be hurt. So a lot of the wives and children went back to their mums or anyone else that could help them, really. So a lot of marriages were broken apart through that. No security anymore. All the little shops in the villages, were suffering like crazy. The welfare, which the miners used to look after, which used to have May Day and the parks and the tennis courts and all the things, the fun we had, that I'd had, that generation all of a sudden, just went into decay because there was no money ploughed back into it. So that was it. So it was really sad and bad times,
So, the thing that interests me is, if you're living in London and all the media reports are coming through and you've got family involved in the... Because I remember when I was young, how it was all being portrayed in the media. How was it, how were you how was that, how did you feel? Seeing it coming through the media and in a London-centric, I imagine, kind of southern kind of way, with all the Thatcher stuff going on, and you knew what was going on, or maybe didn't know what was going on?
No, I did, because I had contact with my mum and dad. We'd speak a lot on the phone. We used to go up quite a lot anyway, but every 6 weeks we'd come up home, husband and I, we're a very close family that way, even though I'd moved away. So when the mining situation happened, they did actually talk a lot about Scargill, he was King Arthur and his court and all this, and I think he tried his hand, and I don't think it worked very well with Margaret Thatcher anyway, but I would listen to people down south, and a lot of them thought, the mining industry needed to go, but they didn't like what was happening, the way it was being done. And as I said before, it was being done so badly that it was affecting people's lives instantly. One minute you've got a wage, you've got a house, you've got rent, you've got all your bills, and the next thing it's no, everything stops, shut down the mine, and it was quite heart-wrenching, and so, I was a hairdresser in London anyway, stylist and everything, and a lot of my clients were really quite sympathetic, and then we started doing collections because you're doing food hampers, to send up north, and so, a lot of people were, and to be quite honest, there was a lot of northerners in London at the time when I was down there, and people from Ireland, and all people that understood nature more and what it gives out. So,
oh, really?
Yeah.
In the sense of the earth?
No, just like people, you need to, when you're in a city, you're pen pushing, you're in an office, everything's pristine and, nice and warm and cosy, and you don't really have to do a lot to look after yourself in that sense. But once you're out in a village, it's cold, it's freezing, and coal was one of the best ways to heat yourselves at that time. And the whole house, the hot water was cold, the whole house and village ran on coal. So it was a really bad time. And as I say, there was sympathy for it, but then a lot of it was, well, it needs to go. Air pollution was brought into it a lot. They opened a factory in Rosington called Coal Light, which was supposed to then take the coal and filter off a lot of the harmful smoke and chemicals and everything, but then that shut down, and I don't know, it's just...
Why did that shut down?
I really don't know. As I say, I was away So, and a lot of the friends that I'd grown up with had married and moved on, and so I didn't really have a lot of communication up here with, you know, people who would understand what questions I'd ask. But I'd speak to Alan, my younger brother, you know, and he was quite fraught without it, because he loved, you know, he loved his job and the friends. There was great camaraderie, you know. So it wasn't just losing a job, it was losing your friend with you as well, and who you spent a lot of fun with and time, and safety. They had to watch one another's backs all the time. So it was like a big thing. So me being down there, sorry, that was the question, I was upset by it. So all I could do was try and help that way, give donations. And there was a march in London, which my husband and Eddie, his Scottish friend, and quite a few of them went on that against Thatcher, you know, to try and bring the awareness that...
Was that a big march?
It was massive, yeah, massive. So, but, you know, she wasn't listening. She couldn't have cared less what happened up here at all. I'm sorry, but I just have no respect for that woman. Saying her name so often is upsetting me. So.
Yeah. No, it does.
Yeah, horrible what she did. No forethought at all. So, and then the village was left to its own devices, you know, with all the damage that had been done and the people's lives that had been wrecked, you know, no mines, no nothing. And then you have to try and make your own way, don't you?
Yeah.
So I was down there, so my way was being made, really, you know, I was away from that. But I used to come home quite a lot, and that's what, you know, I just listen and be sympathetic, and anything I could do to help.
So coming home, I suppose, at regular intervals, did you kind of see, it was almost like an animation, like a freeze-frame animation, watching things maybe in decline or evolving, or through the strike, for example?
Yeah, well, decline, really, because, well, the stories that I would hear was Mrs. So-and-so, you know, her husband is split up and wife, and so there's a lot of sad stories like that that I'd be told. And then other families all moving into one house with the grandparents or parents. Just, you know, just everything was quiet, and a lot of the real badness happened at night, you know, a lot of the, when they were chasing them round, the people that were, because people were trying to get into work, and so obviously, you know, that wasn't going to happen by the strikers, you know, they were stopping it. So then the police, so the, you know, the fighting and the riot stuff would go on.
Feel quite threatening at night then?
Well, I never went out, obviously.
Kind of lawless.
Yeah, I mean, my brother wasn't supposed to go out. My dad would have died if he'd have known, but he was there, you know, championing his cause, which is good, you know, for him. But we were all terrified that something had happened to him. So,
How old was he during this?
well, he was 10 years younger than me, so about, I don't know, 24,
And did he have a family?
28, no, not
So
there.
he was living back at...
He was living with my mum. He was 30 when he left home, and married. He's got 2 great children now. Yeah.
And when did you move back up?
95. Yeah,
Right.
it's about 20 years ago. Yeah.
And where did you move to?
Back to the village to start with. Just renting a house in Bond Street, just while the family got settled. And Vicky was 13, so we got her into school, and then Jenny was 8, so we were settling her in school. But because I'd been in the city so long, it was scared of the dark, for one thing, and like going out at night, no street lights. Where in London it's light all the time, you know. So I decided I couldn't actually stay in the village. I needed to be have a bit more concrete underneath me. Yeah. So we moved to Zetland Road, Town Moor. We bought an old house that we started doing up, and that's what we did. That's what we've done, and raised the family, and we just moved on. So I've never actually been in the village, only with my mum, you know, and her generation, really. But my mum died anyway 2 or 3 years ago now, so I don't really go to Rosington. I only see a couple of friends of hers, but that's it. I don't really know Rosington now.
Right.
I don't know anyone really now. A few people see me and say hello, and I say hello, you know, but...
Yeah, God, you know, carry on. God, you're the stillest one I've had.
Wow, and I thought I was overdoing it.
No. Usually I go around the side and they follow me round. It's like, no, that's not the point. Please, remember what... People most get carried away with what they're talking about and forget that actually I'm here to model
To
their
work,
heads. This
yeah.
is the priority, man. Priority.
It is very much like an interview, like you see on the telly, isn't
Yeah.
it? Just feel
Well, I
like
always
that.
think it's like it's Graham Norton meets Rodin.
Oh yeah. Who's Graham Norton and who's Rodin?
You have to look them up on Google now.
I know my Rodins. I don't like Graham Norton
All
very
right.
much. Actually, the miners' strike and the miners being shut and everything, I mean, and the town has deteriorated a lot since then.
Mm.
And now they're trying to rejuvenate it, which is good, but a lot of people had to lose their premises to do the rejuvenation.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
I mean, are they being kind of housed temporarily, or is it just all been sort of like...
some of them have been into the taken into the Corn Exchange,
Oh, right.
which is a building that they did at once, and that I see they've got it covered again. And it's also great that because it's got a great fish market and
Yeah.
meat market. That is lovely, actually. It is lovely. But the back end of it, the old market, I think it was where the cattle and everything used to be at the time, the old market. That is going to be restaurants and... Actually, I don't know how many restaurants, but they're going to make that all quite a massive forecourt of entertainment. So, I mean, there is a lot of youth now and things are changing.
Yeah.
And I just read in the paper the other day about the airport, a massive expansion at the airport. So there's going to be a lot more work and people, houses being built around, and, you know, maybe that will help the town. It
Yeah.
can change from being a market town and a mining town to, I don't know, something
Cosmopolitan.
else. Yeah, it would be nice that. It would be nice that, because it was in a cusp, there was nothing, you know, it was a void, such a void. After the devastation of the mines being shut and the families, that I think it would be good. But it's just awful for the people that have had premises there and have been told they have to move. I mean, one lady had been there quite a long time, selling curtains and things, and she'd invested money in that stand, but of course she had to go. But she hadn't got anywhere else to go, and so she said she was just packing up, selling her stock off and finishing.
Really?
Yeah, so her life's been changed drastically by the changes.
It's amazing that kind of, what's the word, the tremors of the earthquake
Yeah,
still...
yeah, I think so. Because it was thriving before. Well, everyone was working. All the men were working.
Was
The
Doncaster
kids
thriving?
were, yeah, the market, and it was a busy town, a great town, really. I loved it. I mean, I worked in town. Martin Douglas's was a hairdressing salon I started, and I was doing Saturday Girl and everything, and that was on the high street. And you can just remember, you know, the streets were full of people coming into Doncaster, coach loads coming into Doncaster because the market and everything. You know, it was a vibrant town. And of course, once people aren't working and earning, then less and less people are coming into town. You know, 'cause,
So yeah, we don't often talk about Doncaster itself. I mean, Doncaster itself, we talk about the villages and all the communities, but actually Doncaster didn't have a pit. So, and each village had its own community. So how much of time was spent in Doncaster for people like, you know...
well, a lot really, because everything, the banks and everything were here. I mean, the post offices are in the village, but from my memory of it, if anyone wanted anything, the big stores like Bins, you know, big names, I think that was Owen and Owens, and all these big stores were like, you know, you got your clothes there, you bought your clothes there, you got your pay, and off you went into town.
Yeah.
Great boutiques in Bradford Row, which, what was it called now? It's called something else now. Oh, I can't remember the name now. And I remember with my first wage that I'd seen a top by Jeff Banks, and I thought,
Oh, wow.
you know, I really want that, but I couldn't afford it. So I used to go in and I'd put money down, and she'd put it away for me, and when I'd paid for it, that was it. It was mine, and I loved that. I loved it. Quite a romantic top, yellow, and it was lovely, you know, with the frilly sleeves. And but you know, it was way above my pay wage, and of course nothing else matched it. But I just felt great because I had this, you know, Jeff Banks top. And then he married Sandy Shaw, and I loved her as well. And I thought, wow, you know, this is only getting better. But it's funny that. So so all of a sudden people didn't have the money, so therefore they weren't going into town and buying their shoes and, you know, and So the town did suffer. Because all the villagers, you know, Doncaster was a big thing. You'd go into Doncaster. The cinemas were here. I mean, now it's sort of a park outside of town, but, you know, the Gorman, where the Beatles were at, opposite the region, that's just a car park now. We used to go there. And I can't remember what the other one was called. So, you know, all the entertainment really was in town. And it was a thing, you know, Friday night, all the guys and girls would be in town and spend their wages. So the money was going around, you know.
Did each village have its own hangout area, or was it all you all in I mean, did you all have your own? Did you all go to the same bars?
Youth clubs, maybe. Well, I mean, my family was quite strict, really. I wasn't allowed out at night. All these truths coming out, goodness.
Did that stop you?
Well, it did until I was about 17 and a half, and then. But I'd go to the youth club. I could go to the youth club with my family, my brother. You know, when I was like chaperoned, you were like, it's the old-fashioned word, but. So I did things like that, but actually going into pubs 18, good Lord, and if you'd be caught, you'd be found out. I remember going into town once on a Saturday, and I met a friend, and when I got home, my mum asked me what I was doing in town with so-and-so. Then I realised, that, you know, everyone's talking about, even when you're not in the village, you know, I learnt at a young age that, you know, you're being watched in a way, quite innocently, most probably commenting to my mum, but she wanted to know, you know. So I was 18 when I got out into town. And actually maybe 17 when my brother took me to the folk club in Scott Lane. That's another thing, great folk club. And there's a great thing about that I need to tell you, because I hadn't been going there long, but I'd go with my brother, come back with my brother, who was 4 years older. And Adam Faith was the main singer that night. And
in the folk club?
In the folk club. He used to do the folk.
God.
And his girlfriend walked in with the hot pants. And you can imagine in Doncaster, you know, this was like London moving into a little folk club. And I thought, wow, I want that. I want London. That was me, really.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. That was when I realised that I loved what I was doing. I was being trained to be a hairdresser. And, you know, I was learning my trade so I could use it somewhere else.
Yeah.
So my sights really, music was the thing that got me thinking, you know, I need to be a bit more expansive here. And then of course I got into James Taylor, and, you know, Carly Simon, Carole King, and it just went endless then. I just kept wanting albums that I couldn't afford. So I'd have to go to friends' houses who could afford it, or we'd chip in. It sounds crazy, yeah?
You shared albums?
But I even shared a stereo. Can you imagine that? My mum bought us a stereo, me and my brother, and that was horrendous because he was into like serious music, you know, and Bach, and I'm like, no, I want my pop music on. I got these singles. Yeah, oh yeah. Stuart was good. He was the one that read and everything.
He was a geologist.
Yeah, very learned in his own way because he always read books all the time.
Really? So he was a kind of self-taught.
Yeah, he was really, because I was the one that was like, I just laughed a lot. Really, I didn't really, you know. I tried at school, but I only started really getting it and getting my A's and that when I was leaving, which is too late by then. You're already, you know, getting to a job, earn a living and everything. So, but the hairdressing did me good, and then I did my 5 years. I worked in a salon in Rosington for a while Taylor's, while Maureen, she was having a baby, so I looked after the salon there for a bit. And then that's when I started thinking, you know, I needed to move on a bit, really. So I did.
So Adam Faith, I mean, this Beatles business, was that before your time?
I wasn't allowed in town then, yeah, 63. I mean, 68 I was 15, so,
oh, right, okay.
You know, I'd have loved to have gone.
That seems to be a legendary moment. Was that once, did they perform once, or did they?
I don't know. I mean, all I remember is that they were the best thing that I'd ever heard. You know, well, Tom Jones was one of the singles that my mum had bought me, Green Green Grass of Home, and I thought that was great, you know, at that age, at 12, 13. So, and then the Beatles came along, and it was like, oh, you know, that was it for me. I mean, some friends were the Stones, but I was just, it was just always the Beatles, and that was it. So when they were actually doing their tours and they came to Doncaster, it was like, oh, you know. But I think we still had a black and white TV then. I mean, it would never have been just a flash on the news, maybe, the local news. But, yeah. It was a
The
big
region's
thing.
full of it.
Well, the whole bar down, they stayed there, didn't they? That's why.
Did they? Oh, right.
That was their hotel. So they made the whole ground floor of it, you know, to the Beatles. So it's a big thing. Imagine all the girls screaming and everything, you know. I mean, I was never actually a part of that. But, my claim to fame is I went to the Top Rank, used to do lunchtime sessions of bands that were travelling around. And I got to see David Bowie and Mick Ronson.
Wow.
Yeah.
Where's the Top Rank?
The Top Rank, it was on Silver Street, and I'm
in
not
Doncaster.
sure. Mm. And you went down into it, and I can't remember. It's all changed now along there. I don't know what it's called now.
Probably a rock bar, I
The Rock Bar is there. And so, you know, you could get in at lunchtime. So I'd be working, so I'd have to rush in quickly, see them, and get back to work so I could carry on working.
Hang on a minute.
hairdressing.
You went and rushed in and saw David Bowie in your lunch hour?
Yeah. They
Really?
used to do sessions. They just travelled around. And Free, I saw Free then.
Really?
Stuart Henry, Radio 1 TV, radio shows. Yeah, so they were in town and I just wanted to be a part of it.
Yeah.
And to get an hour's break was a struggle, but because I was still learning, they had to give me an hour. You know, once you were past that, you worked all the way through. So, you know, I'd rush like crazy just to go and see them. So,
Wow.
yeah.
So, I mean,
So Doncaster then, you know,
yeah,
there's a
it's
lot
it's
going
quite,
on.
It's quite interesting, isn't it? Because,
Yeah.
you know, culturally, commercially,
Yeah,
things were
yeah, it was
Really?
great.
Really? Were you typical of your youth? I mean, did everyone want to get down south to London, or was it just, were you quite unique?
No, I don't think I was unique. I was unique in the sense of I was the only girl leaving home at 20,
Right.
which wasn't really done. I mean, right, I suppose I'll tell you this story. The reason I managed to escape from home under being protected was I had an uncle that worked on the Steiner lines. The Steiner?
You know,
P&O lines, that was it. And he was a chef, and he'd come up to visit my auntie, and he knew I was hairdressing. He said, let's get you on the boat.
Oh, really?
Come and do the boats. So I thought, oh, I mean, I didn't know how I'd feel on the boats, but I thought, oh, that sounds exciting, you know. So I said to Mum and Dad, you know, is it okay? What do you think? And they think, oh, if Uncle Joe's there, you know. But the interview was in London, a hotel in Marble Arch. So I went along for the interview, and to cut a long story short, day trip down there, and on my own, and the Cumberland Hotel, and they told me that I'd have to work on the ground before I'd get on the boat, which the wage for London was just, you needed a family with you to do that, because they wanted to train you in all their products before you actually got on the cruise ship and everything. So I was so disappointed. I went into the tube station and bought a Hairdresser's Journal, which is the hairdresser magazine, and the ads at the back were listing who was looking for a hairstylist. So, and this was Taylor Norton in Duke Street, St James. Well, no idea. I asked directions. I rang them up. I said, I'm in London and I'd like a job. So they said, well, where are you? And so I took this tube, so off I went, and they kept me there all day because I could do highlights, I could do perming. They'd never met anyone that could do absolutely everything. Yeah, because down there they specialised, you know.
Oh,
You
I
talk
see.
about trendy London then down
Yeah.
there. And so Mum and Dad were horrified, you know, where are you and everything. But of course I couldn't speak to them. But I eventually got home and explained what had happened. And I thought, oh, I don't know, I won't get it. I won't get it. And 2 weeks later the letter came through and said I got the job. Of course, Mum and Dad were devastated, and I was like, oh, I've got to go, I've got to go. So the truce we came to was a year, as long as I came home regular to see them. So that year carried on for another 20 years.
Wow.
That's how it happened. So that's,
Why did you move back?
well, I feel as though this is your life.
That's great. I'm getting quite genuinely interested. What's the next chapter? Okay. Why would you leave paradise?
Oh, sorry, just let me compose myself. Well, we wanted a house for a start, which in London you can't really get unless, you know, you're doing extremely well. And then it was family as well. So we started thinking about changing our lives, really. And it seemed like a good time.
To improve the quality of your
To
domestic life.
Well, we had a balcony in our flat. We were lucky. For a lot of, Londoners don't actually have a balcony. We were very lucky. There were flats that had been built, Swedish built, and so they were designed really well, lovely big kitchens, So there was gardens around it. We had a balcony. So it was fine, but then we did, it was nice. When we used to come home to Rosington, of course, there was the big gardens, and the kids loved it, they'd run around and all their friends. So that's, we started thinking, right, we'd change our lives. So we changed our life and we came up here. And it was great. My mum loved it, and,
Yeah.
family. Yeah, it was great. So, and it has been great.
So you don't regret it?
No, it was a massive shock to my system, actually, once I got up here. If I'm being truthful, because I was so independent down there. I could get anywhere I wanted on the tube, A to B, in Kensington High Street. It was 20 minutes, Anything you wanted to do, anything you wanted to see, you could go, you could do it. And then when I got in the village, I've discovered that in Rosington, sometimes the bus drivers decide not to go where they should on the bus route, so you could be stood there for an hour. And Tom was working away, so he would have the car at Gatesby or near Cleethorpes, it was, doing Morrison's supermarket. So there I was in this village where the buses didn't come on time. So it was quite frustrating for me. And then I wanted my own car. And then I wanted, I got into this stage of wanting things, where everything had been on the doorstep before, so I'd never needed to have anything of my own.
You didn't realise you had them, really?
No, because it was all there. Transport, you get A to B, no problem. Out the door, get a cab, nip down. Do your shopping, get everything was easier. So then I had to adapt really. And then we bought the house on Zetland Road, which needed loads of modernisation. So then we just started, and it was good. You just get into
project.
Yeah, loads of projects. Rebuilding loads of projects. But 100-foot garden.
Wow, yeah.
And I'd always done a balcony but never a garden. So it was great. I just got stuck into making it a garden, moving the rockery, doing this, that and the other, and growing sweet corns, green beans. I got right into it. So yeah, it's good. Well, my dad always used to do that in his back garden. Grow potatoes, veg. He had an allotment. So.
God, he was a busy man.
Yeah. Well, that was another form of eating food, yeah. Him and my uncle, they had a pig. I know, because he said to me one day, they used to buy pigs and then slaughter them, obviously for the meat and earn the money. And I remember him saying he had to sell a pig when I came along for my bedroom furniture, which he wasn't very pleased about.
When you came back from
no, when I was born, he was blaming me, my mum, really, for saying,
we lost the picture.
Yeah, because along I came and it wasn't a boy, so you'd have to have my own bedroom with my own furniture, and he had to sell a pig to accommodate me, so that was quite interesting.
Were the pigs a part of your life as a child?
No.
You didn't see the pig?
No, the chickens. My granddad had chickens. And he had a goose and thought it was a chicken. He used to pet your ankles every time you went to feed him and that. But we'd go and get the eggs. But no, the allotments they had.
So your dad had allotments?
Yeah, my dad and my uncle. I don't know if anyone else was involved in it. But, they used to have a big Alsatian dog that terrified me. So, it wasn't a place that we went down to. But
what, on the allotment? A dog on the allotment?
Used to keep a dog, yeah, because a lot of people used to, if you were doing very well, might think, I could have a bit of this, bit of that. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I was just terrified of the dog anyway, so I'd keep away from it really. Because I wouldn't have a dog in the house anyway. I'm not dog people really. It's funny because we're so different to my dad. My dad was the real brawn, strong, sort of man. My mum was the one that went to church and
yeah, that's incredible.
Kept us all neat and shiny.
So it didn't cause rifts or anything?
Well, you never knew because, I think everything was kept away from you then. I mean, look, with our family anyway, I don't know. Financially we're doing okay. I suppose everyone was happy. And, there might have been a few rows. I just never remember them really rowing. And I think they just got on with their lives, really. When we went on holiday, that was good fun, of course, When you'd have him, or you have your dad back kind of thing.
Where are holidays?
Bridlington.
Brilliant.
There's a story in that as well. Because every year we'd go to Bridlington, the Wingard Hotel. We'd have a hotel.
Oh, you weren't
Right
camping
on the
there,
front. Oh, no.
So was that a big saving?
That was a big thing with my dad. Well, I suppose he was on the cold face, so if you were going away for a week, that's where you'd go. And then you'd end up on the beach with all your neighbours.
Yes, that's the interesting thing. So you end up on holiday and you're with all the people you live with.
So but it was great fun if you think about it, because all the friends you played with in the street at home,
come with you.
you were all on the beach playing.
So it's like a street holiday.
Yeah, there was a few places along the coast. You'd have Scarborough, some would be Scarborough, I suppose, but yeah, Bridlington, Cleethorpes was another place, but every year. And then this final year we'd managed to, go a bit further afield and went to Margate. And I remember us going to Ramsgate, this little grotto, and everything was so exciting. We'd been on a long train journey. And then my mum fell pregnant with Alan. And I was 10, he was 14. And
So holidays were obviously very special.
So then where did we go back to?
Bridlington.
So luckily I
Another
loved him.
another pigger to go.
So that was funny. I'll be quiet now.
No, it's good. I will have to deal with your mouth soon. When I do that, you'll have to be quiet.
That's good. Tom thinks I'm going to struggle now. It's just that one story leads to the next, doesn't it?
It's great. I find these kind of sessions take on their own. They go on their own journey, really. They take their own course.
Yeah.
Which is lovely.
Good.
David Bowie in Doncaster.
I know. I was so close to him because the stage was only like a step
What
up.
period of David Bowie are we talking?
72.
Is this Starman and
It
Ziggy
was
Stardust?
Ziggy Stardust. Yeah, Ziggy
I mean,
Stardust.
this is a collector piece.
Yeah, and then Paul Rogers of Free. Good
Oh, yeah,
Lord.
yeah.
Well, of course, he was right in front of you there in his black leather all-in-one jumpsuit with his hairy chest,
Right.
And we're all, and of course, we're all still, long skirts, blouses up to the neck and everything. And these people kept coming up from the south. You're like, oh my goodness, what's going on? And of course, to me being so involved with the chapel, I was very much a Sunday school and Sunday school teacher. So I started getting enlightenment really when people were visiting from out of the town, and I just thought, and it was music, obviously, that, everything. I just loved music then, so. Going to see concert, Yes was a great band. I remember hitchhiking to see Sheffield City Hall to see Yes, and my mum didn't know what I had to do. I just kept praying that. But the thing was, hitchhiking then just seemed pretty safe as long as there was three of us, and in the truck. So we'd just get a lift there and a lift back. So we was lucky. I would never say that nowadays, but. And they'd want to know where you were going, the band, and it was like the guys, everyone was sort of learning about music as well, so, and I loved Yes, it was great, and we saw them in London. A friend of ours got us tickets for them, and, because he worked for a music magazine, so, Pink Floyd, I just really
Did you
love
see Pink
music.
Floyd?
Actually, I haven't actually seen Pink Floyd, which is a great regret, but we went to see, dare I say it, what's the word, Tom? A tribute band. It was very hard to say. But you know what? They were
brilliant.
They were excellent. The
What do they
girl
do?
vocalist, when the song, there's one song where the girl's voice just keeps going higher and higher. Like
What do they call that? They call that.
and she was
There's something in the sky. Gig in the sky. It's called?
and she just kept going, and everyone was like shouting for more. She was amazing. So in fact, if you didn't think about them being a tribute band, it was really enjoyable. But we went to see Van Morrison at Birmingham, and he did 20 minutes and left the stage. So no one was happy about that.
He's a moody kid, isn't he?
Well, when the lights went up, we're all thinking, there must be something wrong. What's going on? But and then the band said, right. Ladies and gentlemen,
Maestro
that's the end of the
left.
concert. Yeah, we're like, and the lady behind me is going, I've just paid a fortune for the parking ticket. And all that. Yeah, everyone was furious. But
What was the
I would
reason?
never. I think he's amazing. I love his songs. I've grown up with him really, but apparently, researching into him, if he doesn't want to do a concert or he'll only spend the time that he wants to spend, really. But when you've paid so much money, I think it was about £60 per
That's
ticket.
outrageous.
Yeah, that's what I thought, but apparently that's what. So I'd never go and see him again, obviously. Yeah. Sorry, I forgot we were doing that. I keep forgetting this is. It's very homely. I should be on a settee, you know. Not
No. You're getting too hard to handle here. There's a lot of you on this. Bloody hell.
Are you allowed to
It's becoming about a kilo of wax. It's insane.
This is the most expensive head
Yeah.
that he will have made for this
so much
project.
to cast it. It's going to be half a bloody crucible. But I need your mane. It's a part of you, isn't it?
Yeah.
Especially if you're a hairdresser.
Everyone knows me for my hair.
Yeah. I can't not do it.
No,
It's a shame I haven't got time because I should have gone down below the shoulder.
doesn't matter.
So it's
I
going to
can
be.
cope with that.
I'll see. I mean, I've never done it before. We'll find out whether I can
Ah,
hint at it going further.
Well, I know when I worked in the West End and then moved out to Putney, so it'd be about 5 or 6 years later, I got a tap on the shoulder and a guy who'd worked in Jackson's in Piccadilly was there and he said, I knew you from your hair. I said, oh, that was like 5 years ago. My hairstyle, it's always, because if it rains, it always goes curly. So even if I straighten it and try and look sleek and trendy with the latest style, as soon as it rains, it just, goes back curly. So I'm very much known for the head of hair, really.
Bloody workout. You lift that. Oh, that.
I've got a cup of tea.
Oh, well done, all. It's like a brick. You're a delicate lady. There's like 3 tons of it. Oh, God.
Are you sure 2 hours is going to be enough
No.
there, Laurence?
Some bits will have to suffer, I'm afraid. No, you're a hairdresser as well.
You need a couple of hot water bottles.
I need to borrow your armpit.
Yeah. No, you're not having mine. Borrow Tom's.
You can sit on it if you want.
Be totally flattened then, Laurence. Be no use to you at all.
Standing armpit.
You'll be the first model that has to help warm wax. No, I can't reach the hot plate.
I know, I
I can
realise.
crawl over with my
Bring it closer
some
to
weird Tyrannosaurus Rex dinosaur guy. You say, I remember the day when this Tyrannosaurus Rex guy performed in Doncaster College. It was great, really effective. He sang Peter Stazika's songs. What was that guy? What's his name? Where do you go to, my lovely guy?
Peter, well, I'm not telling you again, Laurence.
Sarsted.
That's the third time.
Peter Sarcastic.
Peter Sarsted.
Sarsted. Here we go. How am I,
Oh,
how
he's
am I going to
dropping
get
the
that? Well, I could do some armpits.
Oh dear. Next time I want a couch.
Next time I want a haircut.
Mine's already in this.
I think we should have,
Shave it off.
have you in swimming cap next time.
Danny didn't tell me I'd have to sit on a perch. He didn't mention that bit.
Like,
You've got about 40
Yeah.
40.
minutes. 40 years.
We'll never be able to carry it for 40 minutes.
Is that long enough? Sausages.
You mean my ringless cool sausages now?
Here it comes. Get in there.
I could have put it up in a bun if
I
you'd
know.
asked me to.
I was saying, Danny, is she going to bun it?
But then you wouldn't have recognised me then, you see.
It's true. It's a mane, it's lovely, it's a wonderful mane. You're going to be just as much of the hair as there is.
When I met my husband, his hair was longer than mine,
Oh, good.
right down his back.
Really? So there's a real hippie hippie thing you were going for.
Yeah, well, it was the times, wasn't it? I mean, guys let their hair grow long, it was lovely. Wow, I can see that.
Can you see it?
Yeah, it's good. I can just see it from the corner of my eyes, like me and my shadow.
Really?
It's quite surreal, yeah. So I'm looking straight ahead, I can just slightly see it from, because you're slightly forward, and it's like, just seeing your face, it's weird.
It must be weird, actually.
Mm.
You're not wrong with anything. Did it go quickly?
Yeah. I mean, I was quite relieved to have a rest at the end, I've enjoyed it. I mean, I didn't know what to expect or what the experience would be, but I found it quite...
We talked about mining for about 2 minutes.
I know, this is what bothers me. They might think it's not really the topic you've brought here. I've been on, this is your life, It's like,
It was quite a journey, yeah.
Yeah, we're all a bit
did you enjoy it?
I didn't get all of it.
Just loads of missed out as well. I'm impressed.
What is that?
It means you've finished.
Okay, I think you probably have.
Oh, good.
Well done, you're brilliant.
Is it switched? Thank you. Thank you, Lance.
Your hand off that chair.
Just let my legs dangle for a bit of time. There you go. Let's have a look. Wow, that's really good. I can just see that's really good. Well done.
Excellent.
That's excellent.
Gonna hold it.
Look at that.
It's good, isn't it?
Wow. Yeah. Well, that's smashing.
And it's going to end up like bronze.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, hit
like
the
that.
one. Feel the
I've
temperature
seen
of
it.
that.
Oh, is that your armpit? I don't like this. Take it back. Look at
Yeah.
it.
So that's what you'll be.
Yeah.
Wow, I feel that.
I know, I felt it.
Amazing.
They're all going, yeah. Hold up. Some of the residual temperature.
Oh, I can feel it, yeah.
How many degrees is it? Come on, be technical.
What's body temperature?
Oh, wow. I don't think I've sat that long for on a chair like that.
That's good. That's all right.